Let's talk about one of the other news stories that seems to be, you not got lost today amongst the Indian trade deal, but this is a fact, ladies and gentlemen. Asylum accommodation, including hotels, will cost us, the British taxpayer, £15 billion over the next 10 years. Now, bear in mind that to screw all the pensioners and not allow them to have their heating allowance in the winter saved the government £1.5 billion. 10 times more that to house people who shouldn't be here. Steven Woolfe, migration expert and former MEP, how are you?
Hey, don't have problems about that. I'm a Mancunian and I'm speaking better in Scouse than you are.
Wait a minute, what's happened? Look at you. You look very smart and intelligent today. Have you been in court? What's going on, man? Have a look.
Oh no, political machinations, my friend, political machinations.
I can tell you've got to that age that I've got where you have to have the glasses on the end of something because you're going to lose them. Mate, welcome to the show. We're rushing today, loads going on. But, Stephen, I mean, that is a staggering amount of money. And I think this is, and I think Mike's right, I think migration will be central to everybody the next election, because when you look at our public services, when you look at what's happening, and then you throw out 15 billion quid, people are at the end of their tether, Stephen.
Well, all I can say is that when I was doing this initial research, and I've had the numbers about Clear Springs and Mercer were the big, kind of beneficiaries of the government contracts that I looked at from 2019, I did not once for a minute expect it to get up to 15 billion. My own estimates were between 8 and 10 billion. That's big enough, that's bad enough. But when the National Audit Office has come out and said that we're spending 15 billion pounds on accommodating asylum seekers and migrants, and that excludes, this is really important, that excludes the cost of what our councils are paying for their accommodation when they get outside of the system as a failed asylum seeker or they've been given right to remain, which I think could double that, no doubt now. We can see how this is a drain on our economy, destroying our communities, and is no longer an issue that any politician of any political party can ignore. You have to stop it. It can't afford this anymore.
And it's interesting because you'll know, because we speak frequently, that those local elections last week gave Reform, a party that talks about immigration, and we know your history with Reform and other people's history, but suddenly there, whether it's Reform or something else, there seems to be amongst British people an understanding or a belief that it's actually now OK to say these people are coming to our country, not from war-torn countries. They're not bringing their wives and kids. They're disappearing into society. But more than that, they're coming here because we're as soft as whatever, and we seem to wipe their backsides. But that's one thing. But here's the point for your average man and woman and family. We're now, I keep saying it and I make no apology, sack me. We're 8th in the queue, and we've never broken the law. We've gone to work and paid our taxes and educated our kids. We've never had a bleeding handout. Not in our lives have we had a handout, and yet I'm 8th in the queue. So why would I live my life so correctly? Why would I do everything that I've always been taught and brought up to do when people who haven't are better off than me, Stephen? That's the point.
And that's exactly the point. This is why you're getting social breakdown. This is why in Glasgow they're saying we can't take any more because it's creating social cohesion. This is why the military are saying that we can't get people to come and join the fight. And if we did go to war with China, Iran or Russia, no white boy is going to actually stand up and fight for this country, because all they do is concern themselves and saying, you're looking after migrants coming into here. They're getting ahead of my grandmother in the hospitals and care at doctors. All of this is now transforming the way that we look to our country. We no longer believe our politicians look after us. No one cares for us. And we're sick and tired of being put to that back of the queue. And we're reacting in the only way we can, by withdrawing ourselves from society, voting for parties that we know have no manifesto or policies out there, but they are not the same parties that have been in power doing this.
Help me out. There will be people who would listen to this or watch this and hear much discussion about, say, migration, And what you've just said, or what I've just said, I mean, the BBC and Sky, the way they interviewed, they allowed, you know, Lucy Powell, they interviewed Dame Andrea Jenkins when she won the mayoral candidacy in Lincolnshire, whether you agree with her or not, right? The questioning was appalling. You know, you said somebody had a South African accent, you're racist, you're racist, you're racist. These people don't seem to understand that there are millions of people in this country. I'm not racist, you're not racist, but we have a right to say that seemingly Beryl in Rochdale, who's lived here 70 years and is now struggling, is being treated worse than a man or a woman who's a man who's arrived on a boat. What do you say to the people who go, Steven Woolfe, that's racist, that's unfair, that's wrong?
I think they're just a snob, unfortunately. That's just only one word. There's two historical elements about our British nation, going back to King Harold and all the way back to the earlier kings of Alfred, is that we were initially dominated by the idea of snobbery, that we built a class-cultured system in place, and if you're comfortable, well off, not being able to be worried about all the actions that the working class or the lower middle class in our country have to suffer, or even now, as I would say, the middle class of this country are now beginning to suffer.
Yes.
And as long as I'm all right and it's impacting me, you therefore are the racist, the xenophobe, and I can say what I like about it. On the contrary side of that is I could turn around. Over the last week, I had a really troublesome illness, a virus that nearly took me, and I was treated by people of doctors and consultants in here who managed to ensure that I'm here today, sat in front of you. Most people in our country will look at those doctors and say, thank goodness you're here, and thankfully you're here. Because we're not racist. We're not about your colour or creed. We recognise when you're adding value to our nation, but we're not looking at them and adding value into our nation at all. Many of them will not. Some will. We welcome those that do, pay their taxes, agree with our culture, just as those doctors and nurses were looking after me in the hospital this week, and there are others that we don't. That is not racist. That's recognition of human nature, a bond of commonality that we join with each other, and a recognition of fairness. That's what this nation has always been about.
Do you believe, and I'm so glad you're better, mate, and we appreciate you coming on, do you believe this shift in, I think, a large number of British people feeling that they're being treated unfairly, do you think that this is a shift that will continue all the way to, in 4 years' time, a different government? I'm not saying reform, I'm just giving you an example. Do you think that this vibe, this buzz, whatever you want to call it, will continue to grow?
Oh, absolutely, because there is only one direction in terms of the way that immigration is coming into this country, both legal and illegal. As I've been pointing out, if you look at Europol, if you look at the security services in Europe, they're telling us that we're getting 200 to 300,000 coming across all the various routes, the 5 or 6 routes into Europe. That means that we're getting more and more coming over. Secondly, we have evidence now, clear evidence, hence the reason why the Conservative Party issued their deportation bill, which looked at one particular area where people come in here for students and work visas and are now claiming asylum too. And we have both of those. And then we have legal migration, where people are beginning to break the law and the rules related to that too. So we're getting huge numbers coming into this country. That won't stop. The flow is coming across. And as that continues, the pressure on housing, where you have Serco in this report we just talked about, going to housing and landlords across the country saying, give us your housing for 5 years and we'll pay everything. Well, suddenly that's going to increase the prices for ordinary working people.
Yeah.
How will they afford a house? The impact on us now is so obvious, so daily, that this will not stop. And whether it's reform, and everybody's looking at them because they've not been tried, they've not been tested, they've not failed yet, or whether it's another authentic patriotic party that believes in ensuring that the rules are the rules, the law is the law, and the people of Britain comes first, they will vote for them. But this will not stop.
Steven, I really appreciate being on, mate. I'm glad you're better. I love the glasses. You're looking very intelligent. And most of all, I love the Scouse accent. Steven Woolfe, migration expert, former MEP, thank you very much indeed.